out there has a big dream, a dream that you've been holding in your heart, that you've been wondering if it's even possible. A dream that maybe started in your childhood or maybe has really started to materialize after you had kids. Something that you call a pipe dream, which even by definition, you're shutting it down, that this is just a dream. This will never be reality. If that sounds like you, this is an episode for you. This is an episode all about dreaming and trying and helping your dreams to get legs so that it doesn't stay just as a dream for you, but it's something that in your life you get to look back at and say, I did it. I did that thing that was on my heart. I did that thing that was deep in my soul that I knew I was meant to do. And I wasn't held back, and I was able to push through the resistances. I did it. I did what I was here on the earth to do. This is the art of plenty. This is a place where we women share our dreams and we look for ways to make those dreams a reality. I have been reflecting these last few weeks, these last few months around the first season of Beyond Business, the real lives of women entrepreneurs. And I don't know if you've got an opportunity to watch those 10 episodes on the Art of Plenty channel where I've interviewed local entrepreneur women, but I keep coming back to the conversations. I keep thinking back to the stories that these women shared. And one of the things that really has stood out to me when I've reflected on this is that these women found a way of stepping out into their dream. And what's amazing about it is some of them didn't even necessarily know when they were taking their first steps that they were really moving into a dream. I think about Gabby's story. Hers sounds like that to me, because when she left her career to support her partner in his real estate company, that wasn't a dream she had. She wasn't dreaming about supporting her partner, but it was a step that she took in her life. And through that, it opened doors so that she could create a life that she has been wanting to live, where she has more freedom to do the things that she wants to do. And it's helped to shape and create this life that she knew she was meant for. But when she first stepped out of that, when she first stepped away from her job, that wasn't something that she was thinking she was doing. And sometimes the actions that we take in our life, it can feel like they're counterintuitive to nurturing ourselves. But I'm always just struck about when we go in the direction that we're supposed to go, and when we have that sense of knowing, that intuitive sense of this is the direction I'm supposed to go, and we take steps towards those, it's amazing the doors that get opened up. And it's amazing what can happen when we are open to the world of possibility. And that brings me to Chantel, one of my other guests. She decided that they were going to do this side project, her and I think it was her roommate, and that they were going to open this little shop. And she was thinking of it just almost as a hobby. And then when they go to get the keys to the space and they find out that the person isn't going to rent to them, I'm like, what was that person thinking? Like, why did he not think that they would make rent? Like, was he looking at these two young women thinking this is going to flop? Like, what was it? Why didn't he step out and rent the place that he agreed to rent? And Chantel made that decision to go across the street. And I mean, I don't know if it was triple the store size, but she did it alone, because her roommate's like, look, I'm out. I don't want to do this. And she did it. She stepped out. And in some ways, I wonder, when we have a setback like that, like you're going to rent this place and it's not there anymore, sometimes it can feel like, okay, I'm not meant to do that. That kind of thing has the possibility of being a dream killer. Okay, it must not be my time. Oh, and that is one of the skills that is required when you're following your dreams, is to know is this resistance that I have to push through, or is this resistance something in the world that's telling me this isn't quite the right path? And being able to discern which it is, and be able to discern, what does this resistance mean? What does this resistance mean at this time? Can be all of the difference in crafting the life that you were meant to live. I love Michelle's stories where her dream of being in the country, of being on a homestead, I don't know if that was always deep in her heart, but I know that that isn't a far step from who she is as a person. Yet it was spending time at Tile Lake and spending time on the land where that dream really started to feel like a possibility. Like I could have this life all the time. And sometimes when we're brought into things that are like our dream or that taste like our dream, it's easy to see, because we start to experience it, it's easy to see that this is worth it. Because sometimes with a dream, we don't really know. We don't know if it's worth it, if the step that we're going to take is going to be worth all of the energy and all of the effort and all of the resources that it's going to cost us in order to do those things. And when we get a taste of it, it can be easier to make that investment. It can be easier to jump in and be like, I'm doing this because every part of me knows that this is good and it's going to be worth the effort and it's going to be worth the energy. I just love that all of the women had these doorways, these opportunities that they decided to walk through in their life. Every single one of them you can point to now because of where they're at in their life. You can look back and you can point and say, okay, that was a door. That was an opening that allowed them to get where they are now. And when you're in life, in the moment, seeing those doorways can be really difficult because you don't know they're a door. You don't know they are a door until you walk through them and start walking. But I can't help but feeling that these women had a sense of openness that there was a possibility that things could be great, that they could do something, that it would be worth the risk. And that's a common theme with entrepreneurs in general, is that they are more risk-taking type individuals than people that are not entrepreneurs. Because to be an entrepreneur is to take risks. When you have a dream that is a deep part of you, it is worth protecting. And what I mean by that is, it's just like we talked about those resistance. Sometimes the resistance that we feel is actually our loved ones pulling us back. I remember when we decided to start Stillwater, my husband and I, and this was more his dream than it was my dream. And I am a champion of other people's dreams. It's one of the things that I love to do in life. But I remember when he was sharing the news with our loved ones and people in our life, I remember some of the responses were, what, you mean you quit your job? Your wife is pregnant with your third baby and you quit your job? Can you get your job back? Like, what if this doesn't work out? There has to be this, in entrepreneurship, this commitment and recognition that there is risk, and things could not work out the way that you want, and things almost always don't work out the way you think they're going to, but things do have a way of working out. And in the face of big dreams, it's often that these doorways are not a huge leap. It's not this gigantic step that we take, but it's often just these little steps that lead us in the way, that as we continue to lean in, it's much more gentler than we think. And I think sometimes the fear and the concern of failure or the fear of judgment from others makes the steps seem so much bigger than they are. But I always think, okay, be open to possibility, lean into these doorways, and you can be gentle about it. You can be gentle about it. You can take your time with going through it. Now, when I think about Alyssa, I think about these dreams are often shared. And I know this experience from being in business with my partner as well, that when you have dreams that are connected to business and you have business partners, you somehow have to shape these dreams with others. And it's not always easy, and it's hard. And I think that that is one of the things for women, because we're so connected to our families, because we're so connected to our kids, because we're so connected with our partners. And we really rely and think about the social networks that, I mean, we are we are emotional beings, and we are connected beings. So one of the things that happens when we have these dreams is that we have to find ways of shaping our dream to meld with the dreams of those around us, because the dreams may not always be the exact same. And how do we shape our dreams so that we can still honor the dreams of those that are in our lives? Because oftentimes that's what we want to. We do not want our dream at the cost that everyone else has to sacrifice for us to have that dream. That dream would not be as sweet. We have to have dreams that also honor the people in our life, that give our kids the opportunities that we want our kids to have, that keep us connected to our families and our friends, and enable us to support our partners and be who we are as women. Which, when I think about Megan, she exudes this in every possible way. And for her dream was really around being the mom that she was meant to be. And her business was a way to support that dream. And part of her big dream of being the mom is also being a good mom, which means supporting the dreams of her daughters. And I love how she's really maintained what her dream is and what her dream has been. Because when you start walking out in your dream, it can get difficult to not have it chipped away. And then all of a sudden, the pieces that you're left with don't reflect the dream at all. Especially because we know as we grow, as we change, our dreams take shape and things shift and things change. So it's a matter of staying in reflection and staying focused on what is happening, and spending time, carving out time to see, okay, am I okay that my dream is shifting? Is my dream shifting, or is just my life shifting and my dream is following the pattern that my life is changing? And that is just something that takes ongoing work. That's something that takes intuition. That is something that just takes energy and effort. I know with counseling, that was a huge thing for me. After I went through cancer treatments, I felt like I don't want anything to do with counseling ever again. And I felt that way for several years, like maybe 3. And then I made a decision that I thought to myself, is this just another thing that cancer is trying to steal from me? My dream of continuing to work with couples, of being really an effective counselor for couples. And I made the decision that I wasn't sure. I didn't know if that dream had totally died or if there was a part of it that was left. So I made the decision, I'm just going to do it again. I'm going to go into private practice. I'm going to do couples counseling, and then I will know. Because I'm okay if that dream has died for real. I'm okay if I no longer want to do that. What I wasn't okay with was cancer stealing that dream from me. And even though I had like nothing left, but I was determined to find out if, you know a fire, when it looks like the fire is totally out, but then all of a sudden somebody who's skilled can coax the fire and then all of a sudden it's burning again. It was like that. Did it just look like the fire was out, or was it actually out? And what's been such an incredible blessing for me is I did go back, and it was like the first session. I was like, yes, I still have this dream. Yes, I still love this work. Yes, I'm still doing it. And I'm so glad that I took the time to really settle in and decide, is this worth it? And it's a matter of taking yourself seriously. Like, no, I'm going to prioritize discovering this And I know that it's going to come at a cost, and I'm willing to pay that cost because there's a price that I'm going to pay and it's worth it. And that reminds me of two of my guests, Angela and Kara. Both of their episodes, you can hear the cost that they paid to do their businesses, to follow that dream. And in following that dream, there were some costs to them that they didn't necessarily know that they were going to pay. But what's beautiful about that is for Kara, and I'm assuming for Angela too, but I haven't actually asked her that, but I know it's true for Kara. Kara's known what the cost to do her dream has been. And now she has another dream that's running parallel, which is to be a mom in a certain way for her kids while her kids are young. So she's decided to pivot and change her business in order to honor that other dream of her. And because the cost at this time to have her photography dream is too big. And I think that matters, because it's not like these big dreams that we have, these big things that we know we're meant to do are in isolation. So we have to be able to have that fluidity and that openness to know that sometimes there's a season to things. Sometimes we may have to hold back a little bit on our one dream in order to realize another dream, or to support another person's dream, or to be the person that we know we're meant to be. And sometimes it's just a matter of waiting for the time when we can really jump into the dream that we have in our life. And that time is never wasted. That time is never without purpose and intention. There's been so many times in my life where I have this big thing that I know that I'm supposed to do, and yet it isn't time. It doesn't, and I start to wonder, will this ever happen for me? Will I ever get to do this? Will I ever have time to write? Will I ever have time to write a book of all of these things that I've been thinking about? Will I ever have time to really step out into this dream? And it can get so disheartening. But what I've realized, and I really noticed this in art, is that all of these things that are happening in my life during that season when I'm waiting, wondering, will it ever happen? That season is preparing me for the season that's coming when I get to harvest and manifest the dream. But this is the season where that seed of the dream is growing, where all of the nutrients and the depth of self that I need for that dream are being cultivated, so that when harvest time comes, when the dream actually gets realized, it'll be a dream that has legs. It'll be something that has breadth and value and depth to it, not just something that'll wave or bend in the wind, but something that can actually grow and be of substance. But that is hard to hear in the midst of the season when you're just cultivating and thinking and waiting, because hope deferred can make your heart sick. And so how do you keep that hope going? How do you hold on and wait for that season, wait for that time? And when I think about art, I've had this conversation with my daughter, because she was taking a photography class, and we were giggling hysterically because she was not good. And this is a kid that's good at most things, and not just good, but she excels at most things. So for her to have to work at something that she thought would be easy was very humbling for her. And then her brother, picks up a camera, picks up his phone, and takes incredible pictures, which seems like first try. It seems like it's effortless. And I was having a conversation with her about, well, yeah, maybe he's not necessarily done a lot of photography, but he's been drawing since he was 3 and 4. He's been cultivating a sense of what makes good art, what makes things interesting to look at, what makes good art. And consequently, when he picks up the camera, all of that knowledge that he's gained in the last 10 years of his life is coming to the forefront. He's not, even though it's maybe a new subject for him or a new tool like a camera, all of that knowledge is coming forward. And that's what that season is about. All of those things that you're learning, it's going to look like when you do show up in your dream that it just happened so fast for you, because people don't see. People don't see all of the energy, all of the effort, all of the resistances that you've overcome, all of the ways that you've been nurturing this and learning and leaning into it. They don't see that. They just see the point of the manifestation of the dream and think that you've got it easy. But that is never the case. And you don't always know what are those things that are really going to shake you to the core, that are going to really give you depth. And when I think of Billy's story, it still like wrenches at my heart to think about the things that she's overcome, and how things that are completely unexpected have a way of, well, totally knocking you down to begin with. And how do you pick yourself up when you have that kind of a situation or a circumstance like Billy Joe did? How do you pick yourself up and build yourself up so that you can get back on track? Because here's the deal. Something is coming. Maybe not as catastrophic as what happened in Billy's life, but something's coming in your life that's probably going to knock you off your dream course, that's going to kick you while you're down. And how do you build resilience? How do you build an ability to overcome that so your dream isn't part of the collateral damage of getting hit? And part of the way that I think we can navigate through those things is our willingness to pivot and our willingness to let some things go in face of other things. And my guest Lisa is a perfect example of that. She built a business with a close friend. She was living in the city. She had all these fabulous components happening in her life, and then just realized, this isn't it. This is not what I want anymore. And she wasn't in a place where what was happening in her life was working. And it's hard when you feel like, have I arrived? Haven't I arrived? Isn't this what I was hoping for? But by willing to pivot, by recognizing that, okay, this isn't quite right anymore, and moving into a different direction, her whole life opened up in a new way. And the life that she's creating for her family and that she's doing in her business is just a beautiful piece. And sometimes out of those types of changes, out of those pivot moments, new dreams are realized and created, things we didn't even know we wanted to do. Because sometimes I find for myself the dreams that I didn't even know were there in me, when they come and are and bloom, it's so wonderful, because they seem to have come out of nowhere. And then yet I can look back and think, oh, I saw hints of that before. I think doing this podcast is a perfect example of that. I never had a dream to have a podcast, but I always had a dream of being able to speak into people's lives. And having the podcast wasn't the dream, but speaking in people's lives was. So doing this, it's a way of honoring that dream, but I didn't even see this part of that dream coming. And that really reminds me of my first guest, Shayla. She did not know what she was in for when she signed up for that first class, that first fitness program. She did not know that she would leave the life that she's currently living. There are parts of it that, yeah, she knew she was going to be doing certain things, but it just came out of left field. It came out of nowhere. And that's that part of being open with our lives and being willing to recognize that we don't know where the door is going to come. And if it seems like this is a direction to go, just lean into it, because who knows what's on the other side? Who knows what's on the other side of that door? Oh, I'm feeling so excited about this conversation, I feel encouraged to go back into my own life and think back to, well, most recently, think back into the last few months. Are there doors opening, and what are those doors? And am I leaning into them? Am I stepping through them? How do I do that? Because this is ongoing work. When you are following a dream, when you are nurturing a dream, when you are building a dream, you do it all the time. It's an ongoing thing. It's one of the ways that you keep it alive until it actually manifests. Whew, that was a lot. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you are here. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to live out my dream of speaking into people's lives. It is such an honor and such a privilege, and I'm so thankful for your willingness to listen to The Art of Plenty. Send me a DM if this means something to you, if this conversation about dreams means something to you. I want to know, what have you been dreaming about? I want to know, what are the doorways that you've been leaning into? It is so exciting to me to see other people walk out their dreams, to see other people find space in their life to create things that are beautiful and to be who they're meant to be. This is The Art of Plenty. I'm so glad you're here. I hope you come back soon. Have a fantastic day.